Good evening. Welcome to our board meeting. If we may all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, at this time we have a public hearing for proposed repair reserve fund expenditure.
Good evening. As we've done at many previous board meetings, we're here to have a hearing about expenditures from our repair reserve fund. As I say at each of these meetings, this repair reserve was authorized by the voters May 2015, which enabled us to fund up to $5 million in repair work at the Riverhead School District. This does function as a savings account for the district, and it is funded by unused funds at the end of each school year. And this repair reserve can be used to supplement needed repairs for projects that were not included in the bond, or projects that come up as we see fit throughout the district that need to be repaired. What does repair mean? It's occasional work of a recurring nature which is intended to restore to condition that which has decayed, deteriorated, weathered, become broken, torn, or inoperable. And how do we access the repair reserve? Step one, we identify projects and things that need to be repaired throughout the district. Then the Board of Education holds a public hearing, which is what we're doing now, on projects to educate themselves and the public as to the intended repairs and total costs involved. This is also done through our OAT meetings, which a board member is part of as well. And then a Board of Education votes to authorize the use of the Repair Reserve Fund. And the projects that we're talking about tonight are masonry work at Pulaski and Roanoke, and this is to repair really most of concrete and masonry work on the exterior that over the years has become torn, in need of repair. You can see the steps. This is Pulaski Street School, and for anyone who has been there, you see that the steps, both in the front of Pulaski, the back of Pulaski, on both sides of Pulaski, along with the banisters, are in a very poor shape and do need to be repaired, as well as the lintels on a number of the buildings, and just really only takes sight to look around and see the different masonry work around both Pulaski and Roanoke, which are our oldest buildings that needs to be repaired. And this is what we're looking to expend the money for, and we're asking the board to approve so we can go forward and award the bids for this work. Take any questions at this time?
Any questions from the board? Yes? Mr. Dorn?
There's also, I guess it's like a wreath or masonry work on the top of Pulaski Street. Is that going to be repaired too, as its pieces have fallen away?
It's being repaired, but I don't think to the extent it's not being completely restored. Am I correct? Yes.
I don't remember off the top of my head the full extent of the repair, and I think part of the work is being done by another contractor, but I'll need to check.
It was a great expense to have that beautiful wreath restored to its existing, to its existing condition. So I think we're doing an alternate repair that's not quite as extensive as completely restoring it. But I will get that information for you.
Okay.
Exactly the extent of it.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about what's being done through Roanoke?
It's the same thing. It's concrete work, steps, sidewalks, outside masonry work on the buildings, the lintels on top of a number of the windows that need to be repaired that are decaying.
Thank you. Anyone else from the board? From the public? Yes.
I guess my question is, are we going to take out the steps and put in new ones, or are we going to just finish the face of everything? For example, like the lintels as well, are we going to take them out and put new ones?
The steps I know we're replacing completely. We repaired them numerous times in the past, and they're at the
So new
point now.
foundations, new
Yes,
steps?
completely, which is why it is, why the cost is what it is. I'm not sure if the lintels are being completely replaced or if they're just being repaired. Do you know, Sam? I'd have to check with Mr. Finnerty. He's not here. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the lintels, it's going to be dependent on each window, but we can get information on that.
Are we also pointing the brickwork?
Yes,
So all the faces of the buildings?
brickwork is part of that.
Because it seems like an awful lot of money for a couple of staircases.
It is a lot of money, and I questioned actually the same thing, but it's very extensive, removing the old steps, especially up Pulaski, which is really the bulk of the cost. Between all of the step removal, the new foundations, just as you said, removing it, repairing all the side work that needs to be done in front of Pulaski as well. It's pretty extensive.
Okay, thank you.
That's also, excuse me, for the most part, I believe that's almost every single exterior stairway, Mr. Masterpal. It's not just the front and rear, the big ones, it's the ones off on each side, front and back. Might even be one or two on the sides too, I remember offhand, but we can get that info.
It is all.
Anyone else? Okay, well, there's a vote on this later in the meeting. Yes, we'll close the meeting. The public hearing is now closing at 19:26. Thank you. Okay. At this time, opportunity for members of the community to address the Board of Education on agenda topics only. Yes.
Sal Mashpee, Public Health. There's an item in here about Hispanic Youth Leadership Club co-advisors, under advisors, lines 15 and 16. Is that club for the Spanish classes, or is that club for the Hispanic youth in the district?
I'll let Mr. Wicks answer, but it's actually a new club. We had over 53 students sign up for these clubs already, and Mr. Wicks will explain where the students come from.
It's not for the Spanish language course, it's for, I mean, it's not exclusive to Hispanic youth, but it is for Hispanic youth, and then culminates in a conference up in Albany where it's almost like a mock Senate type of situation. So they're starting a club based around that and doing some more stuff in the district, more than just going to the conference in Albany.
Well, do we have a Polish youth leadership club or an Italian youth leadership club? I mean, we want to assimilate these kids into our district. We want them to speak English. We want them to basically assimilate with all of our students. Why are we segregating them in their own club? Why not just let them join all the other clubs, okay, and assimilate into the population the way they should be, not segregating them in their own club? I think that's ridiculous.
We have a number of clubs based on student interest throughout the district. We have all throughout the district clubs oftentimes come from students requesting different types of activities that they would like to be involved in. And this is one of those areas where there was a need to really work with students who wanted to have other opportunities to contribute, as Mr. Wick said, not only to the country but to the community here in Riverhead, and see how they could do that. So teachers and students feel that this is something that is very worthwhile in the district, and we're asking the board to support that. As I said, we had 53 students interested already in participating in the club.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Council Aquaba, under contracts under $10,000 approved and executed by the superintendent of schools. Math consultant Lauren Sparrow, not to exceed $9 million. Is that the entire amount of contract? Is that per hour, per day, per?
It's the entire amount of the contract is not to exceed $900.
And what services is he providing?
Mr. Farrell is actually a consultant that has worked not only with our districts, with many districts around Long Island, on helping districts with math curriculum and aligning curriculum. We've been doing a lot of curriculum work with math. As I think I mentioned at the last couple of board meetings, we had numerous teachers completely revamp, look at doing our curriculum to make it work for our district in math, and Mr. Farrell is somebody that works with teachers, who has a lot of expertise, and he's someone that works with our math director in really helping to be sure that we're providing teachers and our students with curriculum that makes sense developmentally, that's age appropriate, and that also is aligned with standards that kids need to
I kind of
learn.
touched on another question I have. We do have a math director.
Yes, we do.
So,
And part of the math director's responsibility is, is doing that, is seeing when you need some outside facilitators at different levels.
so is he providing guidance to our director who disseminates to the teachers, or is he providing consultant services to the teachers?
He works directly with teachers, and he works with the math directors as well. They work together in collaboration. Obviously, no one is an expert at everything, and part of our director's responsibility is when there's a need for a particular age group or a group of students or teachers, they reach out and look for somebody who can provide that need. Oftentimes, they do it themselves when they can, but sometimes you do need people from the outside as well.
Now, is he providing guidance with regards to the new state standards that were put out?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been, as I said, as we've done all along with Common Core, we're really, being mindful and doing things that work for our district and for our students. And we've had, all of the teachers are very involved in creating the curriculum. And then in asking, and part of this is getting some professional development when they say, you know what, we need more, this is something new to us, and we'd like an expert from outside to give us some pointers and some professional development on the best ways that we can use to implement what we're doing.
Right, but we were told by the state that all districts had access to the modules that the state provides on its website, and that was supposed to be a effective measure, it's supposed to be free. I just wonder, every time I see an agenda where we have, and it seems to be a lot for math.
Yes, I think math has been one of the greatest challenges in new standards, and there's no question, so that's why we really invested a lot in having our teachers. As you're aware, and I know you're very involved and up on these issues, the modules are a recommendation, they're not the given curriculum. So they're a recommendation of what kids need to know based on the standards. So teachers can take different things from the modules that they think are valid, and there are many things that are, and there are many things that are not necessarily developmentally appropriate, or need to be revamped based on the needs of that particular class. So that's what teachers did in writing the curriculum, so we don't just use the curriculum from Engage New York.
It just seems to me as a parent that we're spending a lot of money on trying to get our teachers prepared to teach us, and You know, my logic says they went to school, they earned degrees to be teaching math. You know, why are we constantly spending money on consultants and training? And we're 4 years into this, you know, why are we still
It's no
spending money
different
on
than,
this?
and I'll just finish, but it's no different than any other profession.
It should tell us something. It should say, we have to invest so much
Yes.
money into a certain department.
It's no different than any other profession. You have to constantly, whether it's the medical profession, whether it's the sciences, you have to constantly be keeping up on what's new, what's happening. We learn all the time how kids learn. Just as in any other profession, new things come out. So what you learned 10 years ago is not necessarily what you need to know today to help students. So it's, as I said, it's just like any other profession. You have to invest in things to make sure that you're providing our kids with the most relevant, pedagogy for what they need to do.
I hope it pays well.
Anyone else? Okay. Approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer, second. Thank you, Ms. Ligon. All in favor? Motion carried. On to old business. Last meeting, we were having a discussion about the vacant board seat, and everyone was fine with leaving it vacant till the next upcoming election in this May. We did reach out to our attorney, as Mr. Meyer requested, and he also, our attorney confirmed our policy in the sense that we do have the options to hold a special election to fill a vacancy, or appoint a person to fill the vacancy pending the annual elections in May, which we had said we would choose. Or 3, keep the board seat open, keep the board seat open until the May election. So we're all still fine with keeping the seat vacant.
Yes.
Yes, okay. This way? Yes, okay. And also we inquired, the candidate with the third most votes will fill the vacant seat for 1 year. So the 2 top voters will fill the open seats for 3 years, and the third top voter will fill the vacant seat for 1 year. And just so you know, the petitions for nomination are due Monday, April 18th. So I know they'll be available about 3 or 4 weeks before that, and when we know the exact date, we'll announce it. So that will come up. And our election day is May 17th. So, okay. So moving on to new business. Item A, approval of expenditure from the 2015 Repair Reserve Fund. This is the presentation we just had.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Second, Mr. Dorr. Any discussion? Yes.
Do we have any idea about how long these repairs will take?
No, I have to, I don't, so I'll find out the exact time frame for that. The plan, just so you know, is, obviously with masonry work, we want the weather to be warm enough so that concrete can cure. But the plan is to have both Roanoke and Pulaski really ready for September, the fall. Both the cafeteria spaces, the sidewalk spaces. There'll just be, as there always is, just a little bit of additions and interior work. But the plan is to have both buildings ready to go, including all that work by September next year.
All in favor? Motion carried. Item B, adoption of board education goals. Motion. Thank you, Ms. Lynn. Second. Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. Item C, approval of acceptance of bid.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Second. Thank you, Ms. Ligon. Any discussion? Questions? All in favor? Motion carried. Item D, approval of field trip for the JROTC. Motion?
Actually, can we just back up a little?
Sure.
I just want to point out that the bids that came in for all of that we just approved on item C, that the award winner did come back afterwards and take $9,240 off the top also. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Any motion?
Motion.
Field trip? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Second. Thank you, Mr. Dorr. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. Item E, adoption of textbooks. This is for the French class. Motion. Thank you, Ms. Ligon. Second. Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Any discussion? Has to be in French if this discussion. Reread. All in favor? Motion carried. Acceptance of donation. And
So
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Myers. Second, Ms. Lance. Any discussion?
once again, thank you, the whole donations.
Yes, thank you. This is for $601.87 to the Riley Avenue School.
If anybody needs their water bottles filled, go to Riley.
All in favor? Motion carried. Okay, district news, Ms. Carney.
Thank you. Just want to start off by saying thank you to United States Navy Chief Petty Officer Orlowski. He spoke to our third grade classes at the Roanoke Avenue School about his personal experiences in Japan, where he is stationed. And Petty Officer Orlowski's nephews, Jackson and Tucker, do attend Roanoke. And they're studying Asia as part of their third grade social studies curriculum, and teacher Donna Verbeck did comment that Jackson's uncle was kind enough to visit our classroom and give our student his firsthand impression of Japan. It was a great learning experience for our students, and the students really enjoyed having them come and share his experiences. Also want to mention that at Pulaski Street, our students were treated to a presentation by Suffolk County Police Detective Rory Forrestal, and he's from the computer crime section, and he spoke about internet safety for our students, and he really covered the gamut of difficulties that students can be confronted with, from inappropriate pictures, messaging, cyberbullying, sexting, online pedophiles, the whole gamut. And he really helps students to understand the dangers that are out there on the internet, and gave them some really good suggestions about what they need to do to protect themselves. He did include also by encouraging students to tell an adult if they're experiencing any difficulties or see any appropriate materials during online interactions. Then at the high school, just want to mention our students are getting and staying fit with a new program that's being implemented in our phys ed classes called Blue Wave Fitness. And this is a program that's designed to enhance personal fitness, and it's a core strength and conditioning program, and it's being modeled after the CrossFit program. And so for the first 2 days of PE every week, we have fitness days for our students, and then they alternate between fitness exercises, which include dumbbell presses, running, burpees, ski hops, Swiss ball, ab crunches, all these fun things. And there are 4 rounds of each exercise, and for about 45 minutes, and they do 1 to 2 recovery minutes as well. And it's just a part of lifelong wellness, and trying to get our students in the habit of understanding that through individual lifelong wellness, for wherever you are in your physical fitness regime, it's just a good way to get started for a lifelong activity that's going to really help keep you healthy throughout your life. And just do want to also encourage all of our staff members and our board members particularly to maybe come visit a class and spend close attention to these skills, because this February 26th, we'll all be participating in the Crazy Sports Night. Once again, it's a lot of fun. It's going to be from 6:30 to 8:30 at the high school gymnasium. Tickets are $6, which are available through the PTOs, and all the proceeds are donated to our Riverhead students for scholarships. And I think it gets more and more challenging as I get older and older each year, but it is in good fun. And I'll be there hopefully with many of you from the board. Looking forward to it, and thank the RCFA for all their efforts in what they do. And then before I conclude, I do just want to take a moment to congratulate on the agenda and the personnel sheets today. We have 26 teachers who will be retiring, and these teachers do represent decades of experience and expertise, and I want to wish them well as they move into retirement, and we're going to be honoring all of them as is our custom at the board meeting in June. And I just want to, I know I speak for everyone when we want to thank them for all their service, and know that we appreciate all they've done over the years for the students in Riverhead. And we are going to be wishing them a very next and just very nice journey as they go on to something else in their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carney. Opportunity for board members. Ms. Lance?
Today I had an opportunity to stop by Roanoke Avenue and see some of the construction as much as I could see from afar. But something really important, very near and dear to my heart, because I spent a lot of years in Roanoke with my kids, is the library just looks amazing. It is so long overdue. It's bright, it's airy, it's spacious, it's everything you can imagine that those kids deserve, and it's absolutely beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Christy?
Ms. Kukunis, can you step up?
Oh, okay.
We're volunteering you for something.
Okay.
At this time, I would like to acknowledge our board president, Mrs. Susan Kukunis, for achieving recognition from the New York State School Boards Association. Board members qualify by participating in New York State School Boards Association developmental activities and workshops. Ms. Kukunis has earned the board's Mastery Award. We congratulate her. We congratulate her for continually striving to enhance her knowledge and skills for their school board governance.
Thank you.
Before we go on to...
Yeah, oh, sorry, Mr. Dorr.
I was at the middle school today at dismissal, and I know some work has been done by taking out that big curb in the parking lot. It is still a disaster at pickup time where cars on the street back up almost to the high school. I know we probably think something to do better. I think we should.
Thank you. It is something that we've been discussing, and there is a plan once the removal of the bus garage occurs with that work that's going there to rectify it, but we are looking also at of some type of resolution from which we tried, as you say, we've been addressing it, but we know that we need to do more. So we're aware of the situation and we're working on a solution until we get to the point where the bus garage is going to be removed.
And my concern were probably parents were talking to their children by cell phone and telling them to come down the street to get into the car, and they're walking down in between cars and just worried that somebody might get hit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we can, use something great to bring up in the Health and Safety Committee, which we just had to kind of cancel due to a few conflicts, so I believe it's the three of us. So let's try and iron that out within the next few days and get that meeting back on schedule. And that's something that I've brought up before too, so we can start there.
I often pick up my daughter at the high school, and I noticed that there's so many gaps between the cars that are picking up, and they finally got to the point where they just keep moving those cars forward and keeping them tight in there, and you can fit in just about another whole, 100% of cars. It just needs to, you need to keep that flow of traffic going, and you need a guard out there rallying up, rallying up the cars. Park in a parking spot? Okay.
Well, if there's a meeting between now and next, then maybe have an update. Okay. Okay, great. Okay. Anybody else? Opportunity for RCFA. Oh, thanks. Opportunity for members of the community.
Lori Downs, Riverhead. It's funny, you're sitting here and you're talking about the children, they're walking through the cars and everything, but yet nobody cared to inform the parents, the children, or the staff of this district that there was a threat brought on this district. No phone calls were made or anything. And I think that is a terrible disservice. You're supposed to worry about the safety of the children, and that's one of your goals. In fact, that's right here. One of your goals that you set, that is actually set by the state, because there are rules. A threat is a threat, and you take it as what it is. You don't sit there and say, well, maybe it's fake, so I'll just wait later. What you did was, you caused a lot of havoc for a lot of parents. It's a big disservice. Don't look down when I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
I'm listening, don't get rude.
Not looking at a person when they're talking is rude. They're all looking at me.
I'm
Thank you.
listening. Thank you.
No, you're looking down.
Continue.
When a threat comes through to a school, it's supposed to be brought to the board. The board is supposed to make the decision along with the superintendent. Did you all just sit there and nod your head yes, because she had an inkling that maybe it was fake? You can't. There would have been a lot of blood on every one of your hands. And you would have been all in a lot of deep you-know-what. That was totally 100% wrong, the way that was handled. Parents should not have to go on Facebook to find out that there was a threat, a serious threat. There's phone calls not being made all the time. Knives, all sorts of things going on in schools, and parents are not being told. That is a disservice. That is against what you people stand for, the safety, the safety. These goals that you supposedly set up for yourself, more than half these goals are charged as your duties anyway. So anybody that knows what a school board is supposed to do would know that these are the things that you're supposed to be telling us anyway. You keep rolling that eye, and this is all a farce, because these are things that you're supposed to be doing. But the safety of this district and these children should be first. And you put our staff in danger and everything. And it is wrong. It is 100% wrong. And you're worried about kids crossing the street, worried about the people that are coming down the street, and it's bumper-to-bumper traffic. Bumper-to-bumper traffic. This whole front was supposed to be made so it's easier to pick up the kids. That's the concern, correct? So you did. It's still... I sat in traffic on the corner of Harrison Avenue waiting for parents to come through. It's not any better than it was before. Oh, I wish I had my camera out right now. Anyway, I would like you to please remember that when there is a threat, that the parents of this district should be told. It is wrong that they have to find out what's going on in this building through a newspaper. Through a newspaper, you all should be embarrassed. Shame on you all.
First of all, Ms. Downs, there was no threat. And it was investigated as we do. We had proactive security measures. We take everything seriously, and there was no threat. So wherever you got your information.
So you're saying that the News Review and the Riverhead Local lied when they wrote that, when they talked to Ms. Carney, when they spoke to Ms. Carney and they interviewed her, and she said that she kind of figured it wasn't a threat. So,
No. No. There was an investigation, and there was no threat.
when there's a threat, there is no investigation. You do what you have to do, then you investigate. You don't investigate while the threat is going on. It was one kid with an Instagram. That's what it was. It was one kid with an Instagram. So that, yes, investigate it. But first, you inform the parents, so the parents got to decide whether they want to take their children out of here or not. That's not your decision to make, to tell a parent if they can or not. How dare you make a parent keep their child here when there's a threat going on? Because you know what, if my kid was in here and you did that, believe me, you'd be really hearing it.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because even a couple neighbors had called and not all the information was dispersed that the district had put out. And I would like to say all that was dispersed. District said calls are made to all parents when there is an emergency that causes a disruption to building procedures or an emergency regarding student safety. Neither was the case in this situation. As the police determined, there was no viable threat to students in the building. A decision is made by the building principal or by me, Ms. Carney, to add to the response of any emergency situation. Above all, a response to any situation is made on a case-by-case basis with a thorough review of the facts. There is nothing I take more seriously than student safety. In this incident, a student reported to administration to seeing an inappropriate image on another student's phone. No students or teachers were mentioned. The situation was addressed immediately in an appropriate manner. We appreciate when students or parents bring any inappropriate actions or situations to our attention so that we can address them. We commend the student for reporting this incident, and we continue to encourage open lines of communication between students, parents, and staff. And for some reason, this whole statement was not included with what was put out. So that's our response. Anyone else?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Your response is lousy. For the simple fact that you do not investigate before you act. Just 2 days after that came out and the parents were in an uproar on Facebook, just 2 days, 10 states shut down their schools for threats, for a phone call that possibly was a fake. 10 states. New York State heard about 10 states. Riverhead can't even know about what's going on in Riverhead. There's way too much stuff that's going on in this district as far as safety when it comes to these children that you people are not doing. You're not doing it. You could sit there and move around in your chair. I'm glad I'm making you very uncomfortable.
Ms. Downs, please, not
Excuse me, but I still have time.
No, I'm sorry, let me respond because you're accusing me of things that I am not.
You are president of the board.
Excuse me.
And you have she works on the...
I'm sorry that you were concerned. We did not know that you were concerned about this.
Oh, you didn't know?
We didn't receive a phone call or an email. Usually we do from you.
You do? When? When was the last time you got an email from me? I never sent you an email. I deal with Ms. Carney.
Ms. Carney is the CEO of the board.
If she got 3 emails from me within the last year, she got a
Okay,
lot.
I'm not
So
fighting
how
with
do you
you.
know? Don't you tell me what I'm doing.
I'm sorry.
Don't you tell me.
If you're
Because you know what?
concerned,
I don't send you
No.
email because you do not open the emails. You do
Ms.
not-
Carney is part of the board, she is the CEO.
Ms.
When you're
Carney-
concerned, we get the email or phone call followed, yes, as anybody in this community.
And the email was the last thing, what I brought up about the contract. So that's
No, that
the
was
first of the
here.
year. So that's the
I'm
first of the
saying-
year. So numerous you talk.
I'm not gonna fight with you.
Lady,
Nice,
we're gonna have a one-on-one.
nice,
I want to talk to you.
so be it.
Ms. Downs,
Excuse me, I don't want to talk to you.
I'm sorry.
Yes, let's let someone else speak.
Taurine Moore, Wading River. I just wanted to bring a safety feature to point. I know the security guards have yellow like windbreakers, and I know they wear like blue jackets. But a suggestion I have is for all of them to have, whether they're like in the building at the doorway or out in the parking lot, is to wear a reflective vest, maybe over their heavy jacket, or if they have their windbreaker. And I only mention this because a few times my daughter has had to arrive at the middle school at like 6:45, and when it was a little darker a couple of weeks ago, and honestly, I couldn't even see the security people that were in the parking lot for the high school that stand like right at the entrance. And, you know, with the fog and everything, I just thought like maybe a safety reflective vest to go over. You know, I don't think that would cost that much money. I'm not asking for a whole plethora of, you know, new jackets. I think that something like that would benefit everyone, whether it's, you know, right outside the building or in the parking lot. And one of the other main concerns with the middle school parking lot, and I have corresponded with the principal, is that they created like a double lane drop-off or pickup, whatever you want to call it. So it's 2 lanes of traffic. And I suggested just using cones, so it's only 1 lane, so it has to keep going around, like the loop just keep going around versus parents waiting for their children. I know that nobody wants to be outside, but, you know, in years past, it's only been 1 car wide, and all the parents would just have to keep looping around until their kid came out, or actually park their car and wait for their kid. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
I actually had an idea of, like when you go to JF Kennedy, they have that cell phone parking lot you can go to. We're thinking about something like that, where parents can go and sit a few miles away, and when your kid's ready, they call you, and then you run up and pick them up. I'm just trying to lighten things up.
Yes.
It's Yolanda Thompson, Applebell. I want to speak as a parent of a high school student in regards to the threat that I had to read about in the newspaper as well. My question is, my understanding is that districts are required by state education law. I actually called the New York State Center for School Safety, and my understanding is that districts are required to have an emergency action plan, a district-wide plan. And this plan is supposed to state how threats like that are to be handled and how parents are to be notified. And from what the Center for School Safety told me, is that the district has different options. They can either put it in the paper. They said they recommend that since we do have Connect, that a phone call, you know, go out to parents and notify them. What I'm trying to understand is does the board, does the superintendent feel that if they tell us parents information that we're going to go crazy when we don't know how to handle things? I mean, is there a fear that if you let people know or let parents know what's going on, that all of a sudden we're going to get into a pandemonium and we're going to storm the school down and act like lunatics? I mean,
Well, I have to emphasize again that it was not a threat. It was something that we investigated. We're very proactive. We have proactive security measures that we conduct every day, whether it's conducting traffic at the parent group, whatever it may be. It was just an investigation that proved to be nothing. We do this, we're very proactive. And if it were to be a threat and we had to evacuate or do some kind of measure, then yes, we would do a connect.
Right, I understand that, you know, it has to be investigated about, you know, credibility or whatever, but, you know, what happens is when we have to find out through the newspaper, or we have to find out through, you know, through the neighbors in town, whatever, it just, what it does is it just gives a feeling of distrust, of, you know, we feel like information is being withheld from us, and then that, you know, that creates the if you want to call it, parents getting upset or getting angry because they feel that information is being withheld from them.
No information was withheld, like I said today.
Ms. McComas, can I
Yes.
mind if I jump in?
Sure.
All right, I just wanted to, you know, talk a little bit about this. You're at the podium, Mrs. Downs, that brought it up earlier. We take our children and staff safety very, very seriously. It's number one in our book. When this situation came about and it was brought to the police department, because Ms. Carney just doesn't sit back with a principal or two and investigate. I mean, this gets into a much bigger, there's a lot more professionals that look at this. And this particular situation, I only talk about this, was deemed not a threat. And that's why Ms. Carney, with the principals, along with the police department, felt that it wasn't a threat. That's why nothing else was done further. But now I'll take you a few days later, or a few days ago, I forget because the snowstorms got me a little messed up on what days, that there were some gunshots that were heard in the vicinity of Phillips Avenue. That warranted us to initiate our emergency action plan, which did. The school went into lockdown, the police came, you know, Southampton Town, the state troopers, Connect calls were made. That was a true threat because somebody came in and said, I just heard gunshots. So that particular category of that, we instituted that right away. But the certain threat that happened here at the high school was deemed not a threat. That's why nothing else was further done. Trust me, if there was a threat, it would have been treated like all the other times. The times last year we had the issues with the bombing with Mercy. When Mercy was coming here, we were going there. When the police department, and like I said, when something like this comes in, that's where we go to. When they investigate and they tell us, yes, this is credible, no, it's not, we take the right plans, and that's what we've done in the past. So some people might think that this was a threat, and I'm not going to debate that. Everybody in here is a parent. You know, if you hear something like that, you think it's a threat, that's fine. But us as the school board and the school administration, when we get things like this that come in, the police department gets involved with that.
And this was not a threat, it was a rumor?
It was not deemed a threat. So that's how the police department, along with Nancy, Ms. Carney, came about. They deemed it not a threat. That's why no further action was taken. Like I said a few days ago at Phillips Avenue, the gunshots, which turned out to be duck hunters, that was a different category. We went.
But I was told by the Center for School Safety that all threats are to be taken seriously.
Well, that's what
It's a threat. It's a threat, yes. I think that's really the biggest thing. We can sit here and debate all night what you think is a threat, what I do, but it really comes down to what does the police consider? And when something like this comes in, we're picking up the back phone. We're right on the phone with Chief Hagenmiller or one of his people, and we're talking about.
So it is the police department that is directing our superintendent to whether to make the call or not? I'm not following this.
No. Along with them, yes, it's a collaborative effort, along with their expertise, along with Ms. Carney. That's how that was deemed not to be a threat. So trust
What
me,
does our emergency action plan say? What does our plan say?
Ms. Carney can elaborate.
I'd just like to say,
You know what, Mr. Cortez, I have to interrupt. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you, okay? I have to say, really, you are very disrespectful, okay?
I was asking Mr. Meyer if Ms. Carney could elaborate.
It's just the eye rolling, and it's just too much now.
Okay.
It just has to stop.
No, I'm not. Let's just stop the drama. Let Ms. Carney elaborate.
okay, first of all, I appreciate the passion, and when people talk about children and safety, as I said, that is my greatest responsibility as a superintendent. The first course of action is done by the building principal. When anything happens in a building, the building principal determines immediately if he or she thinks there needs to be a lockdown, a lockout, or an evacuation. You don't call anybody first. The building principal makes, or any teacher can make that determination. Any staff member in a building that sees any kind of threat, that's part of our emergency response plan. Any staff member in the building can call a lockdown, a lockout, you can have a fire drill, depending on something they've observed or any threat that comes in. Once that is first and foremost. So just to know, we don't call the police and then make a decision. Okay? In this situation, there was no threat to the students, there was no threat to the school, there was no disruption in the school day. I got a phone call, was just as a report, okay, that a student observed an inappropriate image, okay, on a cell phone. The police were contacted. There was no threat to the students or the school. That was it. And as the principal said, it didn't even occur to him to do a parent phone connect ed, or to me, because those calls are for emergencies. When you're disrupting parents...
And how did it get out to the media?
That's because the media has, they hear every call that goes to the police, I believe. They can hear any call that goes to the police station. We don't control, obviously, what the media does. We follow our own protocols and procedures that we do as a district all the time. And it was not deemed very quickly, we were told there was no threat, there was no emergency. We're not going to interrupt parents at work. But when we, for example, we called Phillips that day, you're on the phone for 3 hours, rightfully so, with parents who have concerns, because whenever you do an emergency phone call, you immediately get hundreds of calls from parents wanting to know exactly, as you would expect. So we man the phones, we're all there, we're all picking up the phones to respond to parents' concerns. We only do an emergency call when there's an emergency, and when there is, the first thing, even before the call is made, and as I happened to be at Phillips when this was going on, and the first thing is you make sure everybody is safe, and all of your things are done for the kids. Then, when you can, you make the call to parents to let them know what's occurring. None of that occurred in this situation, which is why that call was not made to parents. So I just want to explain a little bit the procedures that are in place, because we do take this very, very seriously. And
those procedures are part of the district-wide emergency plan?
The district-wide emergency plan, yes, has procedures for when you have a lockout and when you have a lockdown.
Is that on our website? Is that posted on our website?
Yes, it is posted on our website. When you have an evacuation, and what systems we have in place for contacting parents. And yes,
Could a connected call have gone out to parents saying that this is in it's the way you described it to me, that this incident happened, but it was handled, we addressed it, and we did what was necessary, end of story. Could we have done that? Can we be proactive instead of being reactive?
We didn't feel the situation warranted that, and I appreciate what you're saying. And I said we actually had a discussion about this with all the administration.
I mean, because honestly, I was at work. I have access to TV, and I saw it on television. I mean, it's the internet. I'm angry as a parent. I don't. To me, it's not the fact of being interrupted at work. We want to know. We want to know what's going on with us.
we didn't get very many calls, and I do like to, from parents, just so you're aware, very few actually. I think I had one call.
Right,
I think
we're
Dr.
not-
Regan
we
had
can't make our job and
one
go
or
up
two
to the school,
calls.
But we want assurance that, our children are safe and that, the situation is being handled. We don't want to find out after the fact in the newspaper that,
As I said, we didn't, and I'll just end, and Ms. Kakunas, you can finish, we didn't feel there was an emergency. And we contact parents when there is an emergency, when there is a threat. Obviously, if there's a van that's seen, outside, we
Right.
contact parents. We contact parents when we have a lockout or a lockdown, or we do feel there's any threat. We had it with the Mercy situation. Parents were contacted. We've had it in a number of buildings
So Ms. Conley, you
at
have to
different
understand too,
times.
there's been other incidents as well. We've had knifing incidents where parents weren't informed.
If there's, and I'm not gonna, we can have, I'm very happy to have personal discussions with you, but we deal with student issues every single day. And part of our job as educators is when kids make bad choices, when they say things they're not supposed to say, when they do things they're not supposed to do, we address it. There could be consequences. We address it with the family. Normally, these situations, if it's between two individual students, are addressed with those individual students. If it's if it's one student, it's
But, and
addressed
I
with that
appreciate that
student
you
and
want to
parent.
discuss this privately, but, we do have a right to publicly question us. We have a right to question our board.
We're responding to you.
If I may, I think there's such, like Miss Downs, and just listening, and no disrespect for her, but she had several inaccuracies to what she was saying, and that's how things get so distorted. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know what, I think this was a great example of how our protocol actually works, how Ms. Carney handles this, and how the protocol to diffuse it actually works. There's proof in the pudding that the protocol that this district goes through, that Ms. Carney goes through, works. It does, and I mean, there's just so many things that get so distorted between the media, between, 5, 10,
What is your
15
definition of
people
it
talking.
works?
I'm sorry?
There were a lot of parents that were upset about this, so how can you say it
Because
works?
you're making decisions based on complete inaccuracies. Complete. It was never deemed an emergency. It never ever got to that point. It never reached that point. And I have a child in this school. I
I know you do.
And I have sat
She
in
has a son in the high school with my son.
I'm
Yes.
sorry?
And so does Mrs. Ligon. She has
Right.
children in high school as
You know
well
what?
with my
I have
daughter.
sat
I'm very
with
well
Miss
aware.
Carney and have had tears for every kid in this school. So it's not just my kid I'm concerned about in this school or any other school in the district. I think of every single kid. And I know that there's such miscommunication out there, and I know that the protocol that Ms. Carney went through with her people, with this board, worked. It worked.
I will now back down again to my original question was, do we have a policy in place for how things like this ought to be handled? You told me yes, there is. There is a plan. Okay, I can find it on the website.
The emergency response plan is on the website.
Okay, I'm going to look it up. And if it's not on there and it doesn't spell out specifics, then the next board meeting, then we'll discuss it publicly.
Thank you. Anyone else? Motion to adjourn. Ms. Lance, second. Mr. Dorr, all in favor? Motion carried. Have a good night.